From WXOJLP Northampton, 103.3 FM, your Valley Free radio station. Welcome. I'm Warren Odess-Gillette, and this is A Baha'i Perspective. Welcome to A Baha'i Perspective. I recorded an interview with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais on June 15, 2020. Roya and Roshan have been collaborating for 5 years, putting the Baha'i writings to song. They've yet to publish an album, but they offered to perform live for the interview. They've selected 6 pieces to feature, and so sit back and enjoy the concert. But before you do, I asked Roya where she grew up and what was religious life like growing up.
I grew up in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. The indigenous name is Sambake. It's quite far north in Canada. The population's about 20,000 people, and we're the capital of that territory. So that's where I was born and raised. It's a really unique place. There's a lot of people from all over the world that end up moving there for work opportunities, actually. And over the years, it's become much more diverse. When I was growing up, there weren't a lot of different cultures present. There were a few families here and there, like sprinkled throughout. We have a very large indigenous population, and then there's a lot of white settlers, and then there were a couple different families from other places, such as my family. So yes, it was a very unique place to grow up because it's very transient. So people would come and go. They may come up for 2 years for a job and then leave. And then there are families who have settled there and stayed for generations. So my parents moved there in the 80s, and they lived there for about 35 years. So they stayed for quite a long time.
And what was your religious upbringing?
Yes, so my religious upbringing was in the Baha'i faith. My father came to Canada as a religious refugee from Iran in the 80s, and he comes from generations of Baha'is. And my mom, she became a Baha'i on her own in her 20s, actually when she moved to Yellowknife on her own in her early 20s. So my family really wanted to make sure their children were raised with the Baha'i values and teachings. And so we attended children's classes, and we were very involved in our community. My parents actually moved to Yellowknife as a couple to help support the Baha'i community there because it's very small. There's about 30 to 40 Baha'is there. So they were what we call pioneers and moved there specifically to help the Baha'i community there grow and evolve.
And do you know the story of your father leaving Iran?
Yes, I do. So he was born and raised in Iran. He lived most of his young adult life in Tehran, the capital. At the time of the Iranian Revolution in 1979, the persecution of the Baha'is really increased. Since the inception of the Baha'i faith in the 1800s, Baha'is have been systematically imprisoned and executed for their beliefs. And so his family had had many generations of persecution. And so my father actually lived through the revolution in Iran, and there was a very short period of time where the borders were still open. His parents urged him and pleaded with him to leave because they knew that the situation was not good, particularly because the war with Iran and Iraq had just started, and they were drafting men to fight on the front lines, and particularly they were taking Baha'is. And so my dad fled on very short notice and just left very quickly and went to India, as many young Iranian Baha'is did. And then he stayed in India for the next 4 years, where he did some schooling. He did a commerce degree. He traveled around, like he lived in a very tiny remote village and was engaging in Baha'i activities there. And then what ended up happening was the Indian government, after he was done his schooling, were not allowing these refugees to stay. And so they were displaced, and they weren't able to go back home. So thankfully, the Canadian government worked with the Canadian Baha'i community, as well as many other countries, with the United Nations, and they found homes for all of these displaced Baha'is. And so my dad was given an option. He was told he could choose Canada, US, Australia, or the States. And him and his friends were like, oh, Canada sounds good. Let's go there. Little did he know he picked the coldest of all of them. He moved to Halifax, which is where he met my mother, and his life took a totally different direction. So that was his journey.
So I'm speaking with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating now for 5 years. Roya was just describing her background. So, Roshan, why don't you tell us where you grew up and what was it like growing up there?
Sure, absolutely. So I was born in Edmonton, Alberta. My parents are of a French Canadian background on my dad's side and a German background on my mom's side. When they met, they fell in love in high school sweethearts. My mother decided that she wanted to raise her children with French. She had never spoken French before, so she decided to learn it. She took a few courses at university, flunked the first few, and then after that she did really well and excelled and then was able to bring us up speaking French in an Anglophone area. So Edmonton, Alberta is primarily English speaking, but there are quite a few pockets of French speakers or Francophone community as well in the area. So that's how I came to have French Canadian background myself. Then shortly before I was born, Roy was mentioning the Baha'i faith in her background. My parents became Baha'i shortly before I was born as well. What happened is they were originally from a Catholic background. My mother was going garage sale shopping, and she stopped by this house, and there were all these different artifacts from all over the world. And she said, hey, this is pretty cool. You've got stuff from all over the world. And I think that's fantastic. And the homeowner was a Baha'i, and they said, well, that's because we're Baha'is and Baha'is are world citizens. And my mom said, that's cool, sign me up. And so she was very eager to learn more about the Baha'i faith. And then my dad was a little bit like, oh, hold on. What is this? Let's learn a bit more. So my mom was almost ready to become a Baha'i as soon as she heard that statement. But my dad wanted to do a lot more research. So he found a whole bunch of books about the Baha'i faith and read about its principles. And after a lot of study, he decided that it was for him. And so they both became Baha'i. My parents decided to do what's known as home front pioneering. There was a small Baha'i community in an area just outside of Edmonton called Spruce Grove. It's really just like 20-minute drive outside. But there were a few Baha'is who wanted to form what's known as a local spiritual assembly. So you have to have 9 adult members living in a community so you can form a local administrative body. And so they decided to move to Spruce Grove so they could help form the LSA of Spruce Grove at the time. So then I was raised, like Roy mentioned, with children's classes in a small Baha'i community, but often we would go out to some of the larger communities like Edmonton, or there's another community called St. Albert that has quite a few Baha'is that's close by too. So we would often go to children's classes there. But once things started progressing with our own children's classes, we kind of made our own performance children's class group. So there were a bunch of kids my age, a little bit older, a little bit smaller. Among the family of 9 adults, there were a bunch of children as well in the community. And so we formed a group called the Children of the World, and we went and performed, did a variety of drama and music and arts in different areas around Alberta, and it was a lot of fun. So my upbringing, we were always performing somewhere and trying to promote or to teach the principles of the Baha'i faith, like unity and diversity and that sort of thing.
So in your case, Roshan, music had been a big part of your life growing up.
Yeah, in Spruce Grove, absolutely. So my parents are both musicians. My mom plays piano and sings, and my dad plays guitar. And then he picked up the viola and the violin, and we were all basically forced at a young age to play an instrument or more. Myself, I was very resistant to that. I absolutely hated piano. I did not want to learn that. I did a few lessons and was so resistant towards it that my parents said, okay, try a sport, and then we'll get you back into an instrument later on. And eventually I picked the guitar, and I fell in love with it. So I stayed with the guitar. Now I wish I had played piano, of course, as one often does as an adult. When I was a kid, guitar was my instrument of choice, so I stuck with that. My brother played some drums. My sisters picked up violin and piano as well. So pretty much had a family band, too, that we performed with every now and then, too.
And Roya, what about your musical background?
Yes, so my father would chant in his native language in Farsi, often as prayers and as a way of commemorating and praising God. And so I grew up hearing that and was really attracted to that idea of singing being such a spiritual act and a way of connecting to and praying to the Creator. So that was a huge influence on me growing up. My parents were both huge music lovers. We always had music playing in the house. My mom also, she played piano and she would play and sing as well. She loved to sing us lullabies. I have very strong memories of listening to and dancing to and singing to music in our home growing up. And then I started piano lessons and I stuck with it for a while until my teacher sadly moved away. And because it was a small community, there wasn't another option at that time. And then I was in choirs all my life growing up in school and also in high school. And I really attribute one specific music teacher to helping encourage me to continue singing. His name is Bill Gilday, and he is a phenomenal music teacher, and his 3 children are all wonderful artists. Through that, then after I finished high school, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had never considered music more seriously. But then I started taking private lessons and started to get more engaged in songwriting, and then ended up going and doing a ton of post-secondary education in the arts. And then here I am now, and music has been such a huge part of my family's life. My sister's also a musician. We just really love the arts and how it can uplift our spirits. We think it's really essential to our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So I really love music.
So I'm speaking with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais. They're musical artists who have been collaborating now for 5 years. So maybe one of you can explain, how is it that you guys ended up collaborating together?
We had known of each other in the Edmonton Baha'i community. Mm-hmm. And I remember you reaching out and asking if I'd like to jam and play some music sometime. I remember it was May 2015. We met up and it just seemed to click. I can't even remember those first little bits. I just remember that songs came very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a few ideas for some riffs and I showed them to you and we just kind of put stuff together.
Roshan was great at coming up with great chord ideas and great instrumental riffs and all of the meat of the song. And then we together would choose writings and then develop melodies. And we used the lyrics from the writings of the Baha'i faith. So that's where our lyrics come from. We also delved into writing some of our own lyrics. We found that a bit tougher. And so we're still playing around with those songs as well. We've actually created a full album worth of material right now. So we're just looking at finding ways of recording that album.
I'm speaking with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating now for 5 years. They're going to actually give us a live concert because they've not had the opportunity yet to record these songs, so they thought it would be great to play these live. So the first song that you selected is called This Seed Craveth. So tell us what this song is about.
So this song comes from one of the Baha'i prayers. One of the main lyrics in the song is this phrase that says, "I am a tiny seed," and is this imagery about watering this tiny seed and helping it grow. And so it's an imagery for developing our faith and our spirituality, and that's the message of this song. Anything you'd like to add, Roshan?
Yeah, and we've kind of been playing around with a few different genres, and this one for us kind of felt like it was a good kind of devotional song, but it could also be used for a children's class because of the theme.
So this is called The Seed Craveth.
upon it. This seed craveth, enable it to flourish for the waters of thy mercy. These are the earliest days of my life. Thou hast called me into being. I am, oh my God, I am but a tiny seed which thou hast sown in the soil of thy love. Send down upon it this seed craveth, enable it to flourish for the waters of thy mercy. Send down upon it this seed craveth, enable it to flourish for the waters of thy mercy. These are the earliest days of my life. Thou hast called me into being. These are the earliest days of my life. Thou hast called me into being.
So I'm speaking with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, and we just heard a lovely piece called "This Seed Craveth." Now the next selection that you chose is called "Morning Light." So tell us about that one.
So this one comes from a prayer specifically revealed in praise of the morning. And we have many Baha'i prayers, so many, in fact, that were revealed by the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah, as well as many prayers revealed by his son, Abdul Baha, as well as the Bab, who was the forerunner to Baha'u'llah and prepared the way for Baha'u'llah's message and revelation. This prayer is specifically revealed for morning time. So this one's called Morning Light, and I like to envision the sun rising when we sing this prayer. Is there anything you want to add? No? Good? Yes.
I have wakened in thy shelter, O my God, and it becometh him that seeketh that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense, and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my inner being, O my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine
So we're listening to Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, putting the writings of the Baha'i faith to music. And we've just been listening to a couple of selections. The last one was called Morning Light. Roya and Roshan, you have selected the third one you'd like to feature called The Kind One. So tell us about that one.
So this comes from a writing of Abdul Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah, and he wrote many writings to further expound on and explain the Baha'i teachings. And he's known as the perfect example of what it means to be a true Baha'i. So we love this writing of his that talks about what we should do in terms of transforming our hearts and how we should relate to each other to be the most compassionate, the most kind, and how we have to make haste to transform our hearts. So we have to do it quickly. So this is called The Kind One.
O thou compassionate Lord, cast thy glance of favor, give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, understanding and love. O thou compassionate Lord, cast thy glance of favor, give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, understanding and love. O Lord, understanding and love. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty. May we all follow thy pathway, seek the mysteries, O God, unify mankind and connect our hearts, connect our hearts. May we all follow thy pathway, seek the mysteries, O God, unify mankind and connect our hearts, O Lord, connect our hearts. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Oh, 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 Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Thou art the giver, the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Thou art
The giver,
the kind one, the almighty, O Lord. Oh, 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 oh,
We've been listening to the music of Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, putting the writings of the Baha'i faith to music. And the last song we just heard by them is called The Kind One. The words come from a prayer by Abdul Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah. The next piece that you selected is called Make Haste. So tell us about that one.
So as I mentioned before, how Abdul Baha said to make haste, this one, we love this writing from him as well. And it says, make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give, to guidance come. So this is an invocation to us all, asking us to hurry up and transform our hearts and get down to the work of transforming our world. So that's what this one's about.
amity and peace. Come ye for harmony, to behold the star of day. Come here for kindliness, for ease. Come here for amity and peace.
Make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, hey.
Come ye for harmony, to behold the star of day. Come here for kindliness, for ease. Come here for amity and peace.
Make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste, yeah. Make haste to love, make haste to give, make haste to trust, to guidance. Come on, oh, oh, hey, hey, oh, oh. Make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste to love, make haste to trust, make haste to give to guidance. Come, make haste to love, to guidance. Come, oh, oh, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey.
We're listening to the music of Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais. They're musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, putting the writings of the Baha'i faith to music. This last song was called Make Haste. The next song, Roya and Roshan, that you've chosen to feature is called Lift Me Up. So tell me about that one.
This is one of the first songs I think we wrote together, and this comes from another prayer from the Baha'i writings. And this is one of our more ballad songs.
We try to lift up the soul with it.
Yes, exactly. Try to lift you up. I really love the line, to breathe tranquility on me. So this is the imagery. It comes from the prayer, create in me a pure heart.
Oh my Lord,
Oh my
create in me a pure
heart, oh my Lord,
reveal to me thy path,
lift me up to the heaven of thy holiness, oh my God.
oh my Lord,
Oh my
create in me a pure heart.
Oh my Lord,
Confirm me in thy cause by the light of thy glory.
when you are tranquil conscience, oh my own.
By the breezes of eternity, deliver me. Breathe tranquility on me, source of my being. Oh my Lord,
Well, you don't know what a pleasure it is for me to be able to have this private concert with you two. We've been listening to the music of Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, and they have been putting the Baha'i writings to music, and you've been throughout this hour hearing various selections of their compositions, the last one being called Lift Me Up. Now, the next one that you selected, Roya and Roshan, is called In Tone. So tell us about that one.
So for this one, I created the riff while I was at home. I think it was over the Christmas holidays or something like that. And I hadn't seen Roya because we were traveling to different places. I think you went back to Yellowknife. I sent her kind of my idea for the guitar parts. And I vividly recall when I got the text message from her because I was waiting for a donaire, which is a fantastic, it's like a meat sandwich. I don't know if you've ever heard of donaire where you're listening, but it's kind of like a wrap with just really tasty beef. And it was very greasy and very unhealthy. But I remember waiting in line for this donaire, and then Roya texted me back and she was like, "Oh my God, I love it. I've got the perfect quotation that we can use to put to this guitar riff."
That's so funny. I didn't know that that's where the we really wanted to pay homage to the Middle Eastern root of our faith, and so there's a bit of that flavor in this song.
All right, so this is called In Tone.
He is the prayer hearing, prayer answering God. He is the prayer hearing, prayer answering God. Intone, O my servant, the verses of God. Intone, O my servant, the verses of God. The sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul. The sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul. Intone, O my servant, the verses of God. Intone, O my
So we've been listening to Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, who are musical artists who have been collaborating for 5 years, putting together or composing musical pieces using the Baha'i writings as lyrics. And we had just listened to the song In Tone. So, Roya and Roshan, I know that you've not yet produced a recording, so there at this moment no platform in which people can find out about your music?
So at this moment, we haven't yet recorded our album, but we are anxiously anticipating and desiring to do so. So at the moment, you can come to my website, which is royamusic.ca. I'll have a link there where you can check out our music, Roshan and Roya. I'll keep posted there the updates, and we are going to launch a fundraising campaign, hopefully in the near future as COVID progresses and hopefully is remedied soon. We'll be doing some, hopefully, virtual concerts, perhaps, maybe, in order to spread the word. But we would really love to make this album to help share the Baha'i writings through music, and we do want to stay connected. So there will also be a contact form where you can reach us and learn more.
Roshan, any last words?
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for this opportunity for performing for you and your audience, and we really enjoyed it.
Thank you for getting us back into practicing.
Thank you so much for sharing your music this hour. It was terrific. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Roya Yazdanmehr and Roshan Gervais, musical collaborators putting the Baha'i writings to song. You can find this interview and other interviews on the website abahaiperspective.com and on the YouTube channel, A Baha'i Perspective. For information specifically on the Baha'i Faith, you can go to the website baha'i.org, or you can call the number 1-800-22-UNITE. I hope you join me next time on A Baha'i Perspective.
Oh, my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. Oh God, unite the hearts. Help them, O God, in their endeavor. Grant them strength to serve thee. O God, unite the hearts. O God, unite the hearts. God, guide their steps It will endure. It will endure. It will endure. It will endure. And now concerning thy question regarding the soul of man and its survival after death, its survival after death, it will endure. It will endure. It will endure. It will endure. Know thou of a truth that the soul after its separation from the body will continue to progress, until it attaineth the presence of God, attaineth the presence of God, in a state and condition which neither the revolution of ages and centuries, nor the changes and chances of this world can alter, nor the changes and chances of this world can alter. It will endure as long as the kingdom of God, His sovereignty, His dominion and power will endure. It will manifest. It will manifest the signs of God, the signs of God and His attributes, and will reveal His loving kindness, His loving kindness and bounty. It will endure. It will endure. It will endure. It will endure. It will endure as long as the kingdom of God, His sovereignty, His dominion and power will endure. It 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 will endure.
Tell, Duarte Viera, kindly tell, what crime won you a prison cell? Your testament a biscuit tin. What Duarte Viera was your sin? What was the error of your ways that heaven's concourse sings your praise? What offense did you commit? Tell that we may follow it. Reveal your secret so that richly paid. All Africa now vastly blessed, Baha's felon laid to rest. Daughter Viera, kindly tell, what crime won you a prison cell? Your testament a biscuit tin. What daughter Viera was your sin? What was the error of your ways, that heaven's concourse sings your praise? What offense did you commit? Tell that we may follow it. Reveal your secrets so that we may to gain immortality. Our skulking fears by you allayed, we seek a crime so richly paid. All Africa now vastly blessed, Baha's felon laid to rest. Tell daughter Viera, kindly tell, what crime won you a prison cell?
This is WXOJLP Northampton, 103.3 FM, your Valley Free Radio station, streaming at www.valleyfreeradio.org.